All right. Could you tell me, which site you work for, your name, and how long that you've been a recruiting expert?
My name is John Farley. I work for CowbellClaim.com, and I've been doing recruiting for about the last 3 or 4 years.
Alrighty. So, have you worked anywhere else before you started your own website?
Yeah, I worked for Scout.com for a while, and I also worked for a website called BulldogJunction.com for a little while as well.
Okay. In your time doing recruiting, what are the differences between when you first started doing recruiting and what's going on today?
The biggest difference I see is social media with Twitter and Facebook. When I first started, you could get a kid very easily on the phone and talk to him. Nowadays, you may not get them on the phone. Text messaging is not as big as it used to be. Phone calls are almost non-existent. Most kids you have to contact through Twitter or Facebook, so that's been the biggest difference I've seen in the last few years.
Okay. So, concerning the kids and talking to them, what do you think the strain is on the recruits compared to what it was, say, 5 years ago?
Well, everybody knows what they're doing now. That's the biggest difference. Every weekend, they don't really get a weekend off anymore. They have to, every time they go anywhere, because of the Facebook, Twitter, websites like mine, everybody knows what they look like. Everybody knows where they're going. So anywhere they go, there's 5 people that want to talk to them. There's 10 people that want to talk about where you've been, what you've done. The biggest problem I have in our business is newspaper reporters who come along at the last minute and want to act like they're recruiting experts in the last 2 weeks, and so that just adds to the number of phone calls these kids are getting, so they don't get any rest, and the last month, especially January, is hard on the kids, the family, and everyone concerned.
So, as far as recruiting turning into a business, recruiting for college football is not supposed to concern any sort of money whatsoever. But how do you consider recruiting a big business like, say, ESPN, Sports Illustrated, and all those places try to make it out to be?
Well, it really is in a lot of ways. The young man himself, like you said, he can't get money technically, and they're not allowed to. Except for their official visit weekend, the school's not allowed to pay for anything for them to do. They have to pay to attend the camps. They have to. Everything comes out of the kid's pocket. But by the same measure, the publicity they get for attending a certain school makes websites like mine, websites like ESPN, they all make money off of it because you have to be a member of these certain websites. Nowadays it's funny because you have recruiting services that will go out there and tell a kid, we guarantee you if you give us this much money, we will help you get recruited. And there's no guarantee to it, but it's gotten to the point where you can make as much money in recruiting as you can coaching now, probably more money. A lot of the coaches joke with me all the time that I have an easier job than they do and I make more money than they do as far as hours spent.
Okay, so back to the newspaper reporter thing and recruiting. This seems to be sort of a new phenomenon that newspapers are actually hiring guys just to cover recruiting. I understand on today, like with it being National Signing Day, that it is news today. But how is a beat writer from a major newspaper following a 17-year-old kid around town? How is that news, and do you consider that news?
No, I don't. A lot of the problem I have with it is they have an agenda, and it's whether it be an agenda to where they want them to play for their school or whether they want to sell newspapers, it's an agenda. And we spend, in the business I'm in, we spend 11 months out of the year, 12 months out of the year really. I'll get Thursday and Friday off this week, and start Monday I'll have to go right back into the class of 2014. These guys come in at the end of the day and want to steal all of our spotlight. And the part that is aggravating about it is you look at certain guys at certain newspapers, I won't mention any names, but you look at guys at certain newspapers that are quote experts, wouldn't know a football from a tennis ball if you rolled both of them across the room at the same time. It's just to the point where everybody's a recruiting expert all of a sudden because everybody's on a website, everybody has inside information, everybody thinks they know what's going on, but at the end of the day, the only people who really know what's going on are the people who build the relationship with the kid, which you can't do overnight, you can't do in 30 days, and the coaches. So the information that you see on a lot of newspapers and a lot of these flash-by-night sources is not good information. 99.9% of the time it's wrong, it's false.
Okay, so if there was one thing about the recruiting process now that you could change, what would that be going forward?
I would go ahead and do like they do in basketball and have a fall signing period. You look at some kids, take for instance, there's a kid that just signed with Mississippi State today named Chris Jones. If he would have had his paperwork back in the fall, he would have signed with Mississippi State and wouldn't have had to put up with the harassment that he put up with over the last month from newspaper reporters, the different coaches and different beat writers from different schools. I think if you added a fall signing period, if a kid decided in the fall that's where he wanted to go to school, then it would make it easier on him. He could concentrate on playing football for his high school, and he could shut the process down, and it would make things a lot easier on everybody.
All right, John. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me again. This was John Farley from cowbellclang.com, and like I said, just thanks for taking the time.
All right, thank you.